Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Pizza Buffet powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook on the Hammer Betting Network. We are live on the Forward Progress channel on YouTube and at Forward NFL on Twitter. For those of you that are new here, this is the show where I run through today's NFL card, top to bottom, rotation number order. I will lock in any bets that I think are still worth making. This isn't about what I bet earlier in the week or, better numbers that I got or so on and so forth. It's as of this morning. What do I think is still worth a bet? I'll lock in all bets against Pinnacle's lines. Pinnacle is the official sportsbook sponsor, of the Pizza Buffet. They are the world's sharpest sportsbook and now available to bettors in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly. Not available to U.S. customers. I often preach line shopping. I think that's extremely important. I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. I would never consider betting without Pinnacle being one of my sportsbook accounts because of the low hold. You win more, you lose less when you are betting with Pinnacle. If you are watching on YouTube, I will see your comments in real time. Please join the conversation. I do see them come up on my screen. I'll get to as many comments as I can today. I do like to incorporate them in the show over the course of an hour. If you're watching on Twitter, thank you very much for the support, but I cannot see your comments in real time. They are just going into the abyss. So please jump over to the Forward Progress channel on YouTube if you want to get in on the conversation in real time. And lastly, I will get into it in a second here. If you find value in this show, please hit that subscribe button on the Forward Progress channel on YouTube, or at the very least, if you enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up as that's valuable and allows me to continue doing this stuff going forwards. Definitely back home here, I do have a different shirt on. It's not the Mexican season for me anymore. Back to the Canadian cold. All right, let me bring up betstamp here really quickly. So I will lock in all of my plays on the betstamp app. This is the desktop version that you see on your screen right now. You can check that out at betstamp.app. You can download it on mobile, on Android or iOS as well. Very useful app for line shopping, obviously, but also tracking your picks, finding other people to tail, so on and so forth. So let's get into it right here, right now. We'll start with the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. Pinnacle settling at 6.5 and 47. So a ton of money coming in on the over in this game this morning. Some sportsbooks still out to 7. You get a rare 5.5 on the board that is heavily juiced as well. Few things to talk about. Obviously, I'm going to get into the Josh Allen situation in a second here, but cold game in Buffalo today. There are some showers expected, possibly some snow showers as well. Winds won't be too bad, 10 to 15 miles an hour. Not great weather, but also not bad weather either. Possibly like a slight bump down to passing games. But I would say that relatively no major impact in this one. So Josh Allen looks like he is going to start today. It hasn't been officially said that he will start. It has been said that he will be dressing. Market is indicating that he is going to start in this one, or at least people believe that. I don't really know what to make of a UCL injury. From everything that I have read on the situation from all the Twitter doctors, this is something that could get aggravated if he does get hit. Typically, the injury that he has, you would expect a quarterback to rest for a few weeks and heal it. He's choosing not to do that. The team is choosing to allow him to not do that. I don't know what his limitations are going to be. I know Minnesota has some issues on defense without cornerback Cameron Dantzler. Although Dantzler hasn't been great this year, they're still without defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, who is a big loss for them on the interior. So, I mean, if this was regular Josh Allen, and I knew that we were going to get Josh Allen at full performance or peak performance, I would have zero issues laying the 6.5 with the Bills today. But because there is an element of unknown and the fact that the Bills are dealing with significant injuries on defense, Gregory Rousseau is out. That is a huge loss for the Bills defense. He's PFF's #1 graded pass rusher this year. He's been an absolute beast. Their safety, Jordan Poyer's out. Rookie cornerback Khair Elam is doubtful. We don't know yet if Trey White is a go today. Neither do we know if Tremaine Edmonds is going to play today. He's a game time decision. If anyone does see an update on that, please drop it into the comments and I'll let everybody else know. But as it stands right now, strong lean to Buffalo. If this was a game where I didn't have to deal with Josh Allen uncertainty, I would almost certainly play Buffalo in this spot. But unfortunately, such is life. And I don't know what we're going to get out of Josh Allen today. Game number 2, Bears and Lions. Okay, so, error getting odds. Let's see if we fix that. There we go. Okay, so Pinnacle dealing -2.5, -118, +2.5, +107, which is essentially the equivalent of what a lot of other sports books are dealing. Pinnacle does have the drop-down bar where you can adjust the spread, and you would get to the same number on this. Now, I am locking in on the standard main market line here. I do think that the importance of 3 in this game is big. So I would recommend getting the 3 at -110, -115, rather than 2.5 +107. But I do like Detroit in this game. I do have a small lean to the over as well. I've seen it up to 48.5. I made this one closer to 49.5. Listen, I get it. Justin Fields unquestionably looks better. I think we got to pump the brakes like a little bit in this case when you look at the fact that the last couple of weeks for the Bears, they've been trailing for large majorities of those games, whether that was the Cowboys or the Dolphins. So they're playing out of a game state where they are going to look a little bit better because the defense is going to play softer. That's not saying that Fields is not improving. He certainly is. Looked very good against the Patriots. That was a game state where they weren't trailing a whole bunch over the course of that game. So I think that that's important. But we have seen these teams play similar opponents in recent weeks. And I'm just not getting to the point where the Bears deserve to be priced in this range. So we look at the Lions and the Bears recently playing both Dallas and Miami. The Miami games went very similarly for the most part. Detroit actually went up 14-0 on Miami before ultimately blowing that. Bears trailed the whole game, but they lose by similar margin. Against Dallas, final score for Detroit extremely misleading because they had a Jamal Williams fumble on the Cowboys goal line that completely swung that game, whereas the Bears trailed and got smoked by the Dallas Cowboys from start to finish. So don't really know why there's been this reversal of course to make the Bears essentially a better team on a neutral field than the Detroit Lions. Now, there's a few other things that do play into this altogether. Chicago's defense. They trade away Roquan Smith. They trade away Robert Quinn. One of their starting defensive ends, Al-Qadim Muhammad, is out today. Their dime corner, Kindle Vildor, is out. I normally wouldn't even mention that, but we saw their starting cornerback, Jalen Johnson, limited Thursday, Friday with an oblique injury. That could potentially be a big one for them if he cannot play, especially since he would be seeing most of St. Brown in this matchup as well. But I look at Detroit this year. I've been talking about them a lot this season, and I thought they were highly overrated going into the year. Now I think we've gotten to the point where they might be underrated in market. They faced an absolute gauntlet of opponents this year. They played the Eagles, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. The only 2 times they've stepped down in class this year was last week against Green Bay. The previous nosebleed week was Washington in week 2. They won both of those games. So we have seen them be able to win against inferior opponents and look good in doing so. Jared Goff in cold weather. That's something that's come up a lot this week. I've heard it mentioned several times. I completely get it. He's been a horrible outdoor quarterback. He's had some games over the course of his career where he's been fine. But if we look at the large sample of games where he's been outdoors or in cold weather, it's drastically different to him indoors, warm weather. However, you are still asking the Bears to win by 4 points in order to win a bet, the Lions would have to lose by 4 points to the Bears in order for you to lose that bet. And I just think this is a spot where Detroit is extremely valuable getting the 3. You'll remember last year, maybe you won't, but I'll remember last year because I was on the winning side of this game, which I considered to be the wrong side. The Bears beat the Lions 24-14 at home A lot was made about Jared Goff and cold weather in that game as well. I probably made that argument. Detroit ended up having 5 trips into the red zone, actually inside the 10-yard line in that game. They scored once on those. So I would dismiss that. It's kind of a really misleading one. Detroit at a +3 is a valuable play on today's card, in my opinion. Next game. Jags and the Chiefs. Do a quick refresh here. Okay. We are going with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pinnacle has a 10 -14. Good number, stands out. I'm going to do a full unit play on the Jags today at +10. I like the Chiefs quite a bit. Think the Chiefs are a pretty solid team, top to bottom. Just think that they are a little bit overpriced in this matchup, or maybe a combination of the Chiefs being overpriced and the Jags being underpriced. So for me, the Chiefs defense is just not good enough to frequently cover these big numbers. And it's no surprise over the course of the past couple of years, they've had a pretty poor ATS record at home, pretty poor ATS record as a big favorite. I don't put a lot of stock into trends or anything like that, but I do think that the reason for that is the fact that their defense just isn't very good. And we've already seen them falter in this role a couple of times recently. One last week against Tennessee, one a few weeks back, Monday Night Football against Las Vegas. So if we look at the Chiefs this year, aside from last week, they've given up 20+ points to every single opponent that they've faced this season. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee Jacksonville scores 20. This is the NFL. There are no guarantees. But I think the likelihood of Jacksonville being able to score 20 in this game is fairly high. And that puts them in a very good position to cover 10, because now you need the Chiefs to essentially score into the mid-30s. And I don't think this is the same Chiefs offense as years past. They're still very good. They just don't have the explosive play rate that they used to with Tyreek Hill. It's more of a methodical moving down the field. McCole Hardman is out. They do have depth at the position, though, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, so I'm not too worried about that. But I think there's a clear path to success for Jacksonville's offense here. They've been running Travis Etienne a lot more recently. Kansas City's rush defense is well below average, so I think they can move the ball on the ground. But also Jacksonville's has a pretty strong passing game. I'll talk about why it doesn't appear that way, but they're number 7 in EPA per play, throwing the ball. Number 3 in success rate, throwing the ball. They are number 1 in the league in early down success rate. So they pick up yardage on first downs, have successful plays. These are metrics that typically are predictive of future success, but they have gone wrong, or things have went wrong for them in all of the situations you'd expect to balance out over time. So late downs, one of the worst late down offenses in the league relative to early downs. Red zone, they have struggled this year. Turnovers have been an issue for them. And I think the passing EPA, the matchup that they have is more predictive of success going forwards. I just think that this is too many points, and I have to take the 10 with I have to take the 10. I think this is just a good spot, a good number. I'm in full play. Lots of people in the chat seem to like the Jags. Yeah, I mean, this is a good point here. 4th in EPA per play outside the red zone, 25th inside the red zone. That has some of that is to do with EPA. Turnovers matter, and they have had some red zone turnovers this year, which is going to significantly drop their number there. Okay, we move on. Browns and Dolphins. Let's see what we have over here. Quick refresh. Okay, so Pinnacle all the way down to 3. Pretty sharp money taking the Browns today down to this number. We've seen a little bit of action towards the over this week. Fully agree with the money on the over. Don't think this is something that's playable now at 49 -114 in that range. Also wouldn't play the Browns anymore at this price. Not a whole lot that I would want to have to do with this game right now. I will mention that the Finns defense is not very good. So 25th in EPA, 25th in success rate. They get Bradley Chubb, impact player. How much is he going to improve their defensive metrics? I'm not sure that he can take them to being an above average defense just by his presence. Now, they're top 9 in run defense, both success rate and EPA. So maybe that's going to work in their favor in this matchup. Possibly. Cleveland, as well as they're running the ball, they haven't really faced any strong rush defenses for the most part. This will be one of the toughest rush defenses they face. I still think that Cleveland will be able to run the ball. They get Wyatt Teller back on the offensive line. That's important for them. And the Browns, over the course of a few seasons, have just kind of been able to run the ball on everyone. I also don't think Cleveland necessarily needs to be able to run in this game. Miami has one of the worst cornerback situations in the entire league, particularly because their number one, Xavier Howard, has not been good this year, has not played like a number one. Their number two, I'm going to butcher the name as I always do. Noah Igbenog. I can't. I'm brutal with names. Just leave me be. You guys know who I'm talking about. Noah I is horrible, and they don't have depth. Like Byron Jones is on the physically unable to perform list. Nick Needham's on IR. Trill Williams is on IR. Noah Igbenogany. Igbenogany. That's the one. Finally. I think Cleveland can move the ball, and that makes them appealing as an underdog. Now, not so much at 3, but I can see why the 4s got taken, the 3.5s got taken. I think very highly of the Dolphins offense, but in a way, you would be kind of buying them at the top because they've just faced the Bears and Lions defenses, both of whom are pretty bad. You have Teron Armstead expected to play today. He was a DNP on Friday, but who knows? Could lose him mid-game. And Cleveland does get healthier. They get Denzel Ward back in the secondary. Greg Newsome's also going to play. They have a solid pass rush. I think Miami's they remind me of a Chargers team or a Vikings team where I'd love to get points with Miami. I'm not so interested in laying points with Miami. They find a way to make games close. So, yeah, I mean, no play here, but what? Yeah, I know you guys are all laughing at my pronunciation of his name. I tried hard. Tried hard on that one. All right. I will get through any comments, any questions as we go through, and we'll come back to some at the end as well. Texans and Giants. Okay, so a lot of money comes in on the Texans over the course of the week. Looks like we got an interception here. Okay. Interception from the Bucs. Sorry to cut off my train of thought. Just I know there's a lot of people watching the Germany game as well, as am I on the second screen experience. Okay. Money comes in on Houston earlier this week. Frankly, I think it was the Adam Chernoff release in the Telegram chat that he has, which brought Houston down. Some more people piled in. This got down to 4.5, was dangerously close to getting to 4, and then bets back up to 5.5 today. Now, should be noted, the difference between 4.5 and 5.5 is basically nothing. 5 is a pretty dead under in the NFL nowadays. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion on games. I know the Giants are not as great as their record indicates. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on games, but I think the Giants have overachieved, but I still think that they're miles ahead of the Houston Texans. Like the Texans team they were a 14-point dog at home. Now, granted, they covered the spread. They went on the road the previous week. They lost to the Raiders by 18. Everyone thinks Houston's just going to run it down the New York Giants' throats, because if you look at the New York Giants rush defense, their metrics are bad, but they're also extremely misleading because they were missing Leonard Williams for a bunch of this season. He's only been in the lineup for 4 Giants games. He's a very good run defender. The numbers with Leonard Williams on the field are vastly different to the ones without him on the field. I was kind of hoping that personally that we would see an announcement today that Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks are both in for the Texans, and that would draw more Texans money and I could potentially get the Giants -4. That never materialized. But Nico Collins, back-to-back limited practices with a groin injury. That's never good. Brandon Cooks, honestly, the guy, like, he does not give a shit whatsoever. So I don't know that that makes a big impact. And then when we talk about rush defense, do you know whose rush defense is terrible? That would be the Houston Texans. They are dead last in success rate. They give up a successful run 48.1% of the time. For comparison, remember last year when everyone's like, the Chargers can't stop the run. This is the worst run defense we've ever seen. Teams kill them. The Chargers' run defense last season had a better success rate than the Houston Texans do this year. I've seen some stuff about like Evan Neal being out for the Giants. It's going to hurt them on the... Evan Neal, okay, high draft pick. He's been horrible this season. Like, absolutely awful. One of the worst offensive linemen in the entire league. So to me, that doesn't hurt them. Wish I was getting a better number here. Very strong lean towards the Giants. But, it is what it is. I mean, this is what the market is at this point, and that's it. Okay, Matthew Berry saying Josh Allen starts. Thank you very much. I know a lot of people are sitting on middles in this game. So obviously people have taken the 7.5s from earlier in the week, or 7s, or whatever number you really got with the Vikings with a chance of coming back on the other side. Suggestion for people that got Bills -3 earlier in the week. So yesterday, going for the middle. Generally speaking, you play a middle when your value lies in between the two numbers, right? So just as a random example, let's say you have the Bills -3, you're holding that ticket right now, and you make the Bills -4.5, and now the number goes to 6.5, then yes, you play back on the other side. If you make the Bills -10, why would you play back on 6.5, right? So just when you're middling a game, you want to create a plus EV bet on both sides of the game. That's your intention. Some people, Randy has Minnesota 8.5, 7.5, letting it ride. Completely fine to do that as well. I mean, at this point, there's not real. You could middle obviously 8.5 and 6.5 because 7's a key number. But yeah, there's just that's sort of the strategy when it comes to middling altogether. Okay, Saints and Steelers. Before I came on the air, I got a DM today from a friend saying a certain Ben is on the Saints 5X today. Everyone needs to be aware of that. The Ben the Better mush on the New Orleans Saints. With that said, I think this number is kind of in the right spot now. I for those who consume my other content over the course of the week, I have a bet on the Steelers. I think this is right around the price, what it should be. Pick them in the game. TJ Watt back in for the Steelers. This is a huge problem for the Saints, particularly because they have issues on the offensive line, but also because they have a turnover-prone quarterback like Andy Dalton. If by something happens in this game, goes to Jameis Winston at some point, another turnover-prone quarterback. Earlier in the year, talked about the Steelers' defensive splits with Watt on and off the field. That's all applies here. They will be a much better defense going forward. Now, look at Pittsburgh's opponents this year. This has been the Steelers' schedule this year for people who have not realized who they have played. They've played Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, arguably their easiest game of the year. The Jets, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Miami, Philadelphia. This is the toughest offensive and defensive schedule of any team in the league by a mile this year. So whatever you think of Pittsburgh in your head, and you might say, oh, Pittsburgh's terrible, it's probably influenced by the fact that they have played a crazy schedule. They go into a bye week. They talk in the bye week about giving Jalen Warren more touches. I love that. That's music to my ears. If the Steelers are going to plod someone around on the field, it might as well be Jalen Warren and not Najee Harris, who's running around like a senior citizen out there. Now, unfortunately, Minkah Fitzpatrick gets ruled out yesterday. I do think that that's a big deal in the secondary. He is a very good playmaker. The Steelers do get Levi Wallace back. That offsets the loss of Ahkello Weatherspoon at corner. But I mentioned the Saints. The Saints have bigger injury issues here. Their starting center, Eric McCoy, is out. Left guard, Andrus Peat, is out. Marshawn Lattimore still out at cornerback. Marcus May missed practice on Friday. He's questionable for the game. I have not seen a designation on whether or not he will play. Marcus Davenport, I think he will play, but he's also officially questionable as well. So I'm at a pick 'em here. If I had to pick a side, like if you're in your pools and you're taking ATS, it's Pittsburgh. But there was a lot of time in the week to get Pittsburgh as plus money underdog. And now they've moved to minus 102 at Pinnacle, which is, a good price relative to the rest of the market. But you're just not getting the value that's needed, in my opinion, to continue backing the Steelers. Although Ben being on New Orleans might just give you the push that you need in order to get a Pittsburgh Steelers bet. We'll keep going here. Last 1 p.m. game today, Denver and Tennessee. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to make my second play that I've locked in so far here. It's going to be a smaller play on this game, and it's going to be on the over 39 at minus 113. We're going to go like a 2/3 unit here, so $65, let's say. I could have done 66, 67. You guys know, roughly that's what I'm going with and locking in here. So for as good as the Broncos defense has been, very, very good, by the way, they have not been great at stopping the run this season. They haven't been especially poor, but they've struggled to contain, Travis Etienne recently, Breece Hall. We know what Tennessee wants to do. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Tannehill's mobility is like. I cannot imagine that his return can possibly be a downgrade after watching Malik Willis play. Tennessee's adjusted offensive EPA and their adjusted success rate were both top 10 with Ryan Tannehill. They have fallen to 11th and 19th, respectively, after a couple of Malik Willis starts. They get Treylon Burks activated off of IR as well, which will help their passing game a little bit more. Denver, of course, traded away Bradley Chubb, but they also have Randy Gregory on IR. They're also without Brandon Browning. The pass rush has taken a huge hit for this team. So while I do love the defense, it's not the same defense overall. On the other side of the ball. Now, the Titans defense, in my opinion, is criminally underrated. Like they get, it might be a Vrabel factor. I don't know what it is, but they are somewhat of a mess this week because Jeffrey Simmons is out. Jeffrey Simmons is probably the most underrated defender in the league because most casual NFL fans have no idea who Jeffrey Simmons is. Massive loss in both pass defense and rush defense. He is just a huge presence out there. They're missing Amani Hooker at safety. Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree also out for them. And I'll credit Adam Chernoff for this one as well because this was in his Simple Handicap Telegram chat. But it's a very good point. All of the talk out of Broncos camp during the bye week was about an emphasis on playing fast. All of the players said it. This is what really helped them in their game against the Jags in London. They started playing fast. They started performing well in the second half of that game. It was the best Russell Wilson's looked in a long time. I do think that that is not just being put out there for this, misleading or anything like that. I think the Broncos want to play fast. And I think that they want to attack defenses more rather than being extremely stagnant like they were. So I like the over in this game. And we got a Geno Smith fumble, which is recovered by Tampa. Not ideal for me. However, I like the over in this game, Denver and Tennessee. We'll move into the late games here in 1 second. Quickly, we'll look into the comments. I see some funny ones, but they've passed their time. They've passed their time. Don't need to bring those in now. Got a lot of bots commenting today. I guess that's a good thing. I guess popularity of the streams has gone up if the bots are starting to comment on things. I will get into the late games here in just 1 second. All right, let's pull it up. Colts and Raiders. All right. Interesting game. I pretty much crossed this one off of my list this week. We're getting information this morning that Matt Ryan might play in some capacity. Don't know what to make of that. I think Ellinger might have a quick hook in this game, but we did see the market early on push towards Las Vegas and then come back towards the Colts. So people interested in both sides of this game, and I completely understand why. Jeff Saturday couldn't win at a high school level. You have Sam Ellinger as the quarterback. You need him to be able to do something, or Matt Ryan to do something. You get Shaq Leonard out for the Colts. So I get all those. But then on the other side of things, you have Josh McDaniels is a bozo, for one. You need Derek Carr to win by margin, which seemingly never happens. And you have the Raiders dealing with their own injuries of Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow on IR. I mean, this is a really tough game to handicap. And I think, listen, I'm fine, like, to put some guesswork into a game. I have no issues doing that. Happy to guess on a game every now and then, because at the end of the day, no one really knows how to handicap this altogether. But I'm actually not confident in my guess on this game. I do think Jeff Saturday is going to be very much of an old school type of coach. He's already mentioned it. You know, he's going to take the points on the field goals. I imagine he's going to be like an establish the run type of guy. They're going to pound, Jonathan Taylor a million times in this game. That's what I think that they will do. But I don't really have a strong opinion. I mean, I could see such a wide range of outcomes in this game because of who is coaching. And with that, really no interest in betting it altogether. Dallas and Green Bay. Okay. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. You can probably see that by my Cowboys sweater, by the Cowboys logo back here. For those who've been watching over the course of the last 3 or 4 years as I've been doing these, you obviously know that I put my fandom aside when it comes to Cowboys games. I can bet on them. I can bet against them. I take the value wherever I see it, and that's what I do. This game is bordering on I need to reevaluate kind of everything. Someone in market loves Green Bay today. Okay, so Green Bay's taking a lot of money. They're down to 3.5 at Pinnacle. Most books have followed suit. I am going to play Dallas, but because of the amount of resistance that there is on this game, it will only be a half play. I do respect the market. I do think that there's some valuable opinions out there. I personally do not see what is appealing about Green Bay other than the fact that they maybe are a little bit undervalued because they have played the last 3 games away from home. So typically speaking, 3 games in a row on the road away from home, your team is going to look worse than it actually is. You're returning home now. I get it. With that said, Dallas comes in off the bye. They're relatively healthy. Only Anthony Barr ruled out today. Green Bay, decimated by injuries. They lose Romeo Doubs at receiver, which ordinarily is not an issue for most teams in the NFL, but Green Bay's wide receiving core is so bad that it is an issue. Defensively, their starting corner, Eric Stokes, is out. Now, Eric Stokes, as a number 2 corner, replaceable. It's not like it's a massive loss, but it's now everybody moves up the lineup. Devondre Campbell remains out. Very underrated defender. Rashawn Gary goes to IR. With Rashawn Gary and Devondre Campbell out, you can make an argument that Green Bay is now down 2 of their top 3 defenders. If David Bakhtiari doesn't play on the O-line, I don't understand the path to victory for Green Bay. I'm already having problems understanding the path to victory, but Dallas still with the number 1 pressure rate in the league by a mile. Now, the Packers offense is mid-pack in terms of allowing pressure, but Aaron Rodgers throws underneath a ton. And his average pocket time has been 2.2 seconds. The only quarterbacks that have been lower are Kyler Murray and Tom Brady so far this year. So he's getting it out quick to avoid pressure. Because of that, they're not taking shots downfield. I guess your hope is that Dallas just like force feeds. Zeke is not even healthy. So I don't think that's even a case where they're just going to force feed him over and over. It's like one of those where somebody in market with huge influence loves the Packers, and I just disagree. I don't. I make this closer to where the number was earlier in the week, which was around 5.5. I'll play the 3.5 for a half unit. Just don't agree with that number where it's got to at this point, but definitely cognizant of that. All right. Arizona and the Rams. I'm not going to spend too much time here because we're in a similar boat to, I guess, Las Vegas, Indy. By the way, what are these late games today? Jeez. Just thinking about it right now. You got Colts, Raiders. Cowboys, Packers. I guess we'll have the most people glued into it. Cardinals, Rams. Realistic possibility of neither Matt Stafford nor Kyler Murray playing this week would be Colt McCoy for the Arizona Cardinals, who actually did have a good game last year in relief of Kyler Murray. I remember very vividly because I had an absurdly good number on the San Francisco 49ers in that game, and they lost outright. John Wolford would be the starter, Wolfie as I like to call him, for the Rams. Don't really know what to make of this game. Definitely would have been rushing to bet unders on pretty much any of the quarterback news over the course of the week. I think that's just a lesson for people. I'm not telling you to go bet the under now, but going forwards, you hear Matt Stafford in concussion protocol, Kyler Murray in danger of missing the game. What am I going to do? Under, logically, and we have seen the total move down, but nothing to do at this point. Like, honestly, have virtually no opinion on the game whatsoever. In an interesting development, this has come up a couple times now. Josh Allen has yet to come out for warmups. He is active. We know he's active. We know that they don't have a third quarterback dressing today. Sean McDermott, to me, is the type of guy that does this type of stuff. Mind games. I think he believes that this is actually like important in some capacity, could throw the other team off. I don't hate it. As a bettor, I kind of hate it. But he is a coach that is known for doing these types of things. I do know that because of people that I know who work within the organization. So no idea yet, but that's where we're at right now. Okay, final game, Sunday Night Football. Click into it here. Chargers and 49ers. 49ers have taken money this week, moved it off of 7 to 7.5. I don't know that the money is completely done on the 49ers yet, but I do know that I like the Chargers at 7.5. This is also going to be a small play. I can break down the game in full. There's a lot of matchup advantages all over the field for the 49ers. Big mismatch with their running game against the Chargers' run defense. Now, I will say the Chargers' run defense is actually better this year than people give it credit for. They're actually 17th in success rate, just barely below average. But still, I think they can be run on altogether. This is the first time we're going to see the 49ers with the full complement of weapons on offense, which is scary because they are going to have a lot of playmakers there. We have the San Fran D, which matches up well with the Chargers offense because of injuries at wide receiver, obviously, for the Chargers. And also on the O-line, we have to keep an eye on the Chargers right tackle, Trey Pipkins, who is solid. The backup there is Storm Norton. That guy is basically a walking turnstile. He is terrible. So that is an important one as well. San Fran is dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive line that are kind of going unnoticed, but Eric Armstead is out again today. Samson Ebukam is out, or at least he's listed as doubtful. He's not expected to play. Remember, earlier in the year, they did put Maurice Hurst and Javon Kinlaw on IR. So really, outside of Nick Bosa on the defensive line, they are very thin on the defensive line there. That is a matchup that the Chargers can exploit with Austin Eckler. I do think Eckler is going to be heavily involved in this game, especially in the passing game whatsoever. But what I particularly like about the Chargers here, and this isn't like I can't see Justin Herbert losing by double digits or whatever, because if you actually look at the Chargers under Justin Herbert, there's been plenty of games where they've gotten blown out, including a few this year as well. But it's more so that I do not trust the 49ers to separate. And that's not to say that the 49ers can't win a game by a lot, but they have an uber conservative head coach in Kyle Shanahan, who I think is okay in terms of like game planning, getting his team ready to go, lacks in-game decision-making, and he tends to play things extremely conservatively in-game, especially with a lead. And that's not a team that I typically want to bet on to win by margin. I would like to fade that team winning by margin, knowing that if they're up a lot, they run the ball heavily, they punt in situations where they might consider going for it. So because of that, I like the Chargers in this spot. Do a quick recap of today so far. So just pointing out here, the Vikings have taken a little bit of money now. I don't know what's going to happen with this Josh Allen situation. Your guess is as good as mine. I was fed information earlier in the week that it was extremely unlikely that he would play. I was fed information yesterday that the team wanted to hold him out, but he is insistent on playing this week. Have no idea what's going to happen here in this game. Play Jacksonville plus 10. That's a standard unit play. I like that one the most of anything on the board today. Over 39 in Denver, Tennessee. Dallas minus 3.5. Again, very cognizant of the fact that there is a lot of resistance on this play, as the same with the Chargers, which end up being a half play at plus 7.5, minus 107. Going through the board, no idea with Minnesota, Buffalo. Detroit would play Detroit at a 3 because we're pulling the main market price from Pinnacle on betstamp. Excuse me, I got the plus 2.5, plus 109, but you can easily just hit that drop down bar in Pinnacle, get the equivalent price at plus 3. It's not an issue whatsoever. I do think that there's value in the Lions at a flat 3. Jags played already. Cleveland, Miami, no idea what to do with this anymore. Think the market's kind of settled in the right spot. Lean to the over at 49. Houston and the Giants, lean to the Giants at this price. New Orleans, Pittsburgh, small lean to Pittsburgh. Denver, Tennessee played the over. Colts, Raiders, nothing to play there. Cowboys played. Cardinals, Rams, nothing for me. And Chargers, 49ers, small play on the Chargers. What was your lean on Dolphins game if you had to pick a side? So I make Miami a minus 3.2 point favorite. It's pretty much right on there. I'm not sure if this is actually someone trying to get me to pronounce this name one more time or if this is actually true. But if Miami is down another corner, that is a pretty big blow for them overall. Let me see if I could try the name one more time. Noah Igbenogany. Pretty sure. Allen officially active? Yes. We know he's active. That's what we know. We just don't know if he's starting. Las Vegas minus 4 stands out, down 2 points. Yeah, I think there's like some conflicting market interest on this game. Stick around and answer questions for a few more minutes. If there are any more questions to be answered for today's games, a reminder tonight, which is Sunday Night Football, 49ers, Chargers. I would be on broadcasting live, 8 p.m. Eastern time with Fabian Sommer in Germany, probably watching the Bucks lead the Seahawks 21-3 right now. Prime time for the football game tonight. That will stream live from the Hammer HQ on Twitter and on YouTube. Subscribe to the Hammer HQ. All of the primetime shows go live right out of the Hammer HQ account. get a subscription, get notified when we're live, jump in as soon as that happens. 10:30 Eastern time tonight. I am back on Forward Progress, our flagship show on this channel with Clive Bixby. We will review the day as a whole, and we will preview the rest of the week coming up, week 11, where we think the market's going to open with these numbers, which way the lines are going to move, where there will be interest overall. So please tune in for that. That will be on this channel on YouTube, Forward Progress. Hit subscribe. Like I said, if you enjoy the content, give us a thumbs up, and also just let your friends know. I mean, anything we can do to get viewers is helpful. That will be it for me. I'm going to be monitoring this Josh Allen situation, as should everyone else, because there might be a bet to be made at some point or another. But this has been the Pizza Buffet, powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook, here on the Hammer Betting Network. Peace, everyone. Good luck with your bets today.